And basically, it was like dying. So it was like dying before you die. And I've had many of these types of deaths, ego deaths. But this was a significant example of dying. Everything goes white. You think it's the end. There's no space, time, matter, no breath. Everything's white. And then you gently go through an experience, or not so gently, depending on how you. But for me, it was very peaceful, actually. Not initially, my initial thoughts were, oh no, I'm dying. What have I done? And then I surrendered, actually. And in that surrendering was actually such beauty, because when I came round, I was laughing. In like the awe of this world, of the beauty of nature, of my body. Like it felt like I'd never seen my body before.
Before we get into the podcast, I'd like to say a big thank you to our season 3 sponsors, Lightside Financial Planning. They're a Liverpool-based company, fiercely independent and dedicated to making money conversations easy to navigate. If you'd like a conversation with one of their friendly team members, there's a link to their website in the show notes. Welcome to the pod. I'm super excited because I've got my old mate, Rhys Thomas, former Welsh Rugby international, back for a second episode. If you watched the first episode, you would have been blown away by Rhys's story of transformation. So in my opinion, Rhys has the greatest story of transformation that I've ever seen in a man. And it's about pain, and it's about transforming pain into a greater purpose and meaning in life. So as I said, Rhys was a former Welsh Rugby international. I used to coach him. And now he lives in South Africa, in Cape Town, and he is a public speaker. He is a coach, a breathwork facilitator. He's the co-founder of a charity in South Wales called Tidy Butt. And he is also part of a hot and cold wellness club in Cape Town called the Sauna House. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about Rhys's life right now, and we're going to be diving into a theme called embracing death. Why? Because 12 years ago, Rhys had a heart attack in Wales, and over the last 12 years, his heart is being kept alive by a machine. Rhys, good to see you, mate. How is Cape Town treating you?
Cape Town's amazing. Thanks, Whitey. It's, a lot of sunshine, a lot of blue skies, right on the Atlantic. I'm on the Atlantic seaboard. So, it's just beautiful. Mountains, amazing plant life, very diverse culture and humans that live here. So,
I've been to Cape Town 7 times. Mostly through kind of rugby trips, and it's definitely a place I hold close to my heart, and I will make it over to see you one day. Mate, there's so much to talk about. I want to dive into the topic embracing death, because no doubt it's on your mind a lot. We'll dive into why you moved to South Africa in a moment. Before we do that, some listeners or viewers may have not seen our first incredible episode. Can you just do a short journey through your life from your rugby playing days to the challenges of retirement, the pain of transformation and healing, and where you're at now?
Okay. So, I had a pretty interesting existence. I ended up leaving. I was born and bred South African, left at 18 to move to Wales to try my luck with rugby over there. I ended up being a 10-year pro, 7-cap international for Wales. I was involved in a quite successful Welsh team with Warren Gatlin at the helm, where we won the Grand Slam in 2008. And I played for the Dragons and the Scarlets. And then in my last year with the Scarlets, I suffered a heart attack in 2012 in January. And then that led me down this quite unusual path of obviously athlete transition, but also navigating other multiple issues like such as my health and loss of purpose and all these interesting transitions. And that got me, my health deteriorated pretty rapidly from that quadruple bypass that I suffered in 2012. And then I had a machine implanted in my heart in 2014 called a left ventricular assist device, which is a machine that's implanted in my heart, and it's literally sucks the blood out and then pumps it back through a tube that's connected to my aorta, and is run externally by a set of batteries that last roughly 8 hours a set. I've still to this day, that was almost 12 years ago now, got this machine. The longest anyone ever lived in the UK with this model of machine was 11 years. I'm almost 12 now. And obviously in that time from 2014 till about 2020, I went through a huge period of self-destruction, alcoholism, and a lot of darkness, a lot of heaviness, and ended up really damaging and traumatizing most of my children and my family through some of my behaviors, destroying my marriage, and then ultimately having, thank God, amazing friends to stage an intervention and sent me to a rehab facility in 2020, in February, where I was there in a rehab for a month, and when I came out, I had this bit of what I would call maybe some sort of an awakening, and which led me to the man I am today. And 6 years from 2020 to now has been just wonderful. A lot of struggle, a lot of challenge, but in most part, deeply revealing. Coming back to myself, feeling, connection, expansion, and just realizing maybe a little bit about my truth, and coming to peace with many different challenges.
Wow, I'm sure you've told that story a lot of times, Rhys. I know you speak about your journey on your speaking tours, and thanks for sharing it again. It was great to reconnect with you. We didn't see each other for a number of years, and you reached out, didn't you? And we connected, and you came on my retreat, and then you shadowed me on retreat, and then we've been in touch ever since. And I've witnessed you standing in front of a group of men crying with joy and tears, and literally saying to these men that you were grateful for your heart attack, which was beautiful for me to see. And I see you thriving. You know, I see you speaking. You're an amazing speaker. You've done so much accreditation work around breathwork. I see you holding space, teaching breathwork. I always said to you, you'd be a great coach. You've got a great partner. I know you're getting married. We'll talk about that soon. Congratulations on that. Yet behind all that, I'm guessing that death is not very far in your mind. You know, I'm guessing that the thought of death, what death could be like, how it could feel, the pain of death, the joy of death. We mentioned before when we were talking that only a couple of weeks ago you were talking to God and asked him to take you away. So death, what comes up for you when I say the word death?
Yeah, it has been a in the last 6 years in particular, suppose since I became conscious that in fact I was deeply fearful and scared of leaving, this earth, leaving my body, and leaving behind it, more importantly, my children, my partner, my friends, my family. In most part, I was completely unconscious to that fear, as I was most of my fears. I was in deep denial around, in this kind of bubble of self-sabotage and victim mindset that I was kind of living in pre-sobriety, was the dishonesty, I suppose, and the inability to actually own the fact that there was quite a lot I was fearful of, like confrontation, failure, judgment, rejection. And then ultimately, what I realized was probably the thing that I'd feared the most, that I was trying to drown my feelings and emotions, was the fear of death, actually. So the last 6 years has been a deep dive into understanding death. And in that deepening of the understanding of death, the level of gratitude and peace that it brought to living and being present and making the most of every moment, every day, every breath. So in that respect, it's been a really deep journey, and I've tried many, many different avenues to try and address this underlying fear, this inability, this attachment to not letting go, to surrendering to this process of death. And I think in many ways what I've come to realize is it was a deep programming and conditioning, in my particular case, in many ways from the religious point of view, in that there's a heaven and a hell. And if you don't act a particular way, you're going straight into a box in the ground, and then you're going downstairs to the devil, right? And I used to say,
to the torture room.
Like for me, in most part, there was only one way. The way I'd conducted my existence for 37 years, like there's no apologies I could give that would make up for that kind of stuff.
You were going to the special basement underneath the dungeon, right?
It was hot down there, mate, I promise you. So it was like, what chance have I got, really? How do you make amends for this type of depravity and behavior? So that had a lot to play with it, and then my relationship with spirit in some way had a big part to play in that, and my understanding of that, and organized religion, and the illness that I carried into my sobriety was of multifaceted. It was of the body, it was of the mind, it was of the spirit. And it was a big process of me of stripping all that away and unlearning everything that I had learned about what was deeply imprinted into me, even pre-me, generationally, multi-generationally. So it's been a big process of letting go, of surrendering, of finding my truth, how that looks and feels to me, of that expansion, but also the death, the multiple deaths of my ego, of the paradigms that I used to tell myself, of the structures within this confine of this paradoxical existence that we live in as human, in this human experience. So it was a deeply it was confusing at times, but also deeply liberating. And I was seeking, just constantly always seeking why, to just like, what can I do? What more can I, how do I free myself of this terror and this fear that I hold on to, that also, it follows me everywhere. And it's a stark reminder, maybe more than some, is that the fact that I have to plug myself in every night before I go to bed, and every morning before I get out of bed, I plug myself into a set of batteries. So all of this kind of stuff is yeah, you know, we hear of these stories with like Joe Dispenza, as you've been on a couple of his retreats, and could probably testament to the stories of his books and his experience of seeing the healing from that quantum level is about like, it's all very well when it's something you can't see, but when you're plugging yourself into something, you know, it's a different level. And more recently, you know, I've had some brushes with my health, in particular the last 8 months, that I did kind of, and the messaging from the medical fraternity was that maybe it was coming to the end, you know. And as I've been waiting for a heart transplant for the last, gosh, almost 10 years now, you know, 8 years in the UK and call it 16 months in South Africa. It's been a process, mate. It's been a process, but more recently, it's forced me into making peace with death and looking in places that I typically have not looked before. And the one way was through stillness, with Vipassana. I did a 10-day Vipassana, and it was immense in the peace that it brought. And understanding that there is no death in the eyes of the way that the Buddha perceived the meditation, and understanding of the nature of the human body through the atoms, and I think as he called it, the kalipas, and how they were constantly dying and regenerating, and that is life. Everything's changed. It's in a flux. Everything's in a flow. And death and rebirth are constant. It's the only change that is constant.
Yeah.
And so that was really relieving, really transformational. And in fact, it alleviated a lot of my issues at the level of the body and the heart, at the physiology. And then more recently, I just felt I felt overwhelmed, but also demoralized, Craig. You know, this journey I've had to like put that warrior mindset back from the game of rugby that I used to play, that I was obviously for many years put down, and leaning in more into the feminine energies and within me, and accepting that those other parts and becoming one with them too, and more familiar with my shadow behaviors, and accepting that and my ego, and navigating those challenges. But more recently, I was just exhausted by my journey, actually. The constant putting on a brave face, and you know, being here, and of course being grateful for that, and having my children and my family. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, being told this certain stories by the hospitals, by the doctors, you know, my health being up and down, and not being able to do the basic things like going for a walk, you know, going for a swim, a bike ride, you know, not even being able to go in the sauna. Oh, mate, it's just like, it was so demoralizing, to the point where literally a couple of weeks I was just like, take me, like, I'm done. Like, I was like begging God, please, I just don't have it in me anymore. I'm exhausted. You know, like my soul was tired. It wasn't a physiology of tiredness or mental tiredness, fatigue. It was just like demoralized and tired at the level of the soul, you know. And I was just like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah. Like, let's go.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So what's the latest on a heart? Is it like it's always been? You no idea. You're in the dark. Are you giving any signs when it could happen, or is it just dependent on someone dying, basically?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the other aspect of this whole situation, right, Craig? Is being in this situation. Is for many years there were periods where I believed that, you know, I could heal myself, and I went pretty full in trying to do so. but every time I'd go back for a checkup, they'd tell me the same thing. The heart looks the same. There's no improvement on the left side of the heart. You know, there's a lot of scar tissue. It'll never regenerate. And it was kind of soul destroying in many ways, because I felt like I was doing everything that I could. But also at the end of the day, it was like, well, I've still got this machine in me. It needs to come out, whether I heal my heart or not. And actually the risk of removing the pump out of a normal heart is actually significantly more risky than having a new organ. But then that organ obviously comes from a donor. And that means that a human has to die for me to continue my existence. So for many years, I was also navigating that challenge of what would it be like to have someone's emotional center in my body, and to part ways with my emotional center and this beautiful generator of life force, and who that I have an amazingly close relationship to. You know, I have a deep somatic, interoceptive relationship with my heart. You know, I communicate deeply with my heart. I can speak to it. I feel it. I know, like, when my valves are opening at particular speed or not. You know, so I'm grateful for that. But also, like, the thought of, wow, you know, when that gets removed, and then someone else, like, how was their last days, weeks, months? What was their existence like before? You know, will I be the same? Will I deal with their karma? Will I have the same habits, emotional baggage? Will I have to navigate that post-op? So I suppose on a spiritual level, there's always that, you know, how will that look? How will that be? You know, if my atomic soul is in my heart, what happens then? Does my whole and part of my soul exchanged for someone else's? Or, you know, like, I don't know. But I hope within time, with the awareness and the understanding of who I am and how I feel and the depth of somatic experiencing that I am able to have been allowed to delve into in the last 6 years. I feel and I pray that I'll be able to speak to this in time, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've been waiting a long time, and on top of the list, I've been number one priority in South Africa for 10 months, but I've been on the list for 15. So yeah, but it's quite specific. You need a large person, roughly the same size, weight, obviously the same blood type, the same antibodies.
Wow.
And hopefully they haven't had the jab. I don't know. Yeah. You know, because I haven't, and I certainly wouldn't want that. So there's a few things, you know, mate, like I think about and I ask these questions, and you know, no one really knows, I suppose. You don't hear from a story from someone who it hasn't gone well for, you know. Yeah. But in most part, if you get out of year one, the success rates are pretty high.
Okay. I've got a question for you that's linked to a bigger question.
Okay.
And I'll get away with it because we're close mates.
Yeah.
What would happen if you just, one night, you said, fuck it, I can't be fucked with all of this, and I'm not going to plug in, I'm just going to fucking leave it? Like, what would happen? What would happen to your body?
So, I mean, this is the question I was forced to think about more recently, because I had a technical fault in the machine, and it was making all sorts of beeps and stuff. And I went to the hospital and they said, yeah, there's a technical fault. We don't know where it is. We're not sure if it can be fixed, and in which case we're going to try and swap this machine around to another, like, there's an external little system I carry. It's called a system controller. I'll show you if I can. It looks like this. They said, we'll try and exchange that, but if that doesn't work, it can be an emergency situation. and we'll try and give you the moment for your body to try and take the load, so to speak. And if it can do it, then great, and we'll see how long that can last. We'll monitor you closely. It might be a week, 2 weeks. Obviously, this is what they're telling me, right? And then, yeah. So, and I have thought about it many times, mate. Like how, and I think life more recently has been really challenging me to stop listening to these old stories, and like how am I approaching life, and how am I thinking of life, and what am I allowing them to impact me by telling me these stories, and that nothing has improved, and this and also reinforcing it by when I do repeat my story, saying this is happening and that's happening, and I need this and I need that. But I was actually like I've more recently been thinking of it from a completely different point of view. We're talking in the last like 2 weeks, when I was back in hospital 2 weeks ago for an incident that occurred, and I was in the week in the hospital, and it like forced me to like just think of another way. Yeah. And that was what I was thinking. It's like, do I put trust in that? All my trust actually, that the body knows what it needs, and it knows what I need, and I can change that. But this time it's more about telling the conscious mind through my words, as opposed to the belief that I feel, that I know, that I feel in my bones, that I trust that the body will be able to repair and change and accommodate and recalibrate. So yeah, it's something I think about a lot, Craig, actually. And more recently been thinking about it like a lot.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, I'm telling myself that, you of all people, it would have been, I guess, justifiable to just say fuck it, but you've not, and you've transformed, and you've transformed significantly. Apart from the machine, what's keeping you alive? What's important to you these days? What do you love? What's driving you in life these days?
Just love, mate. It's what keeps me alive, is love. Is love for my children, is love for my partner. She's 14 weeks pregnant. Love for my family, for my friends, for the people that have come through my life. My ex-wife, my ex-parents-in-laws, my ex-coach, everyone. When things have become overwhelming, and they have, and I've felt tired, I just remember what I go back to always is, it's like, how lucky am I that I get to still experience this unbelievable place, that I get to see God all around me, like the plants, the people, the land. Yeah, I feel honored in many ways. And yes, of course, at times it's fucking hard, and I feel tired by carrying it. I feel the weight of it, but I feel that it's an invitation, actually, more recently, by the universe to say, "Come on, bro. There's more. There's more in you. You need to look deeper. You need to start leaning into your edge. You need to start looking outside of this body. You're playing small, and I don't mean playing small as in like the projection into my environment and my work and my life and my friendships. More like, why am I still believing at the level of the body? Like, I'm so much more than just this skin and bones. But I'm like, in the mind, I'm just this human body.
Yeah. So mind wants to keep you here. Mind wants to keep you here, and spirit wants you to level up, right?
Yeah, literally, right? So that's been a big one more recently, is that realization, and that's come through a lot of recent suffering, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's laid the foundation for that, the deep seeking within, has been the stillness of that Vipassana taught me. Actually, a bit of work that I did with some bufo, which was, I think it was an invitation, because the circumstance behind getting to the place to do that with the woman that I did it with was a deep place of deep trust. And
Can you just explain briefly what Bufo is to the audience?
yes, so bufo is 5-MeO-DMT. It's from a toad. It's the venom, it's the poison from a toad that is secreted, and then it's dried, and then you smoke it. It's one of the strongest. It is arguably one of the strongest psychoactive substances on this planet. And when the lady met me, she said, she's a wonderful human. Her name is Sarah. She said when she saw me that you need to come and see me, brother. Your soul is tired. You need to return to source. Your soul needs to return to source, and then come back in your body to reinvigorate you for the rest of your journey, because you have a long path ahead. And then the synchronicities of what followed in the run-up to leading to seeing her in her ceremonial space were just, it was things that only I would know, that she was talking to, and the things that she had at her altar. And basically, it was like dying. So it was like dying before you die. And I've had many of these types of deaths, ego deaths. But this was a significant example of dying. Everything goes white. You think it's the end. There's no space, time, matter, no breath. Everything's white. And then you gently go through an experience, or not so gently, depending on how you. But for me, it was very peaceful, actually. Not initially, my initial thoughts were, oh no, I'm dying. What have I done? And then I surrendered, actually. And in that surrendering was actually such beauty, because when I came round, I was laughing. You know, in like the awe of this world, of the beauty of nature, of my body. Like it felt like I'd never seen my body before. And those two experiences, the stillness of meditation, which now I'm practicing almost daily for at least an hour every morning, and the path of the toad, I think has taught me so much in also looking beyond the body, in the oneness and the expansion of what I can achieve through the field, and how I can tap into that life force to actually see life in a different way and start to create a different narrative, a different outcome, a different belief, a different set of outcomes. That I always knew these stories, but it was actually believing them at the level of body, mind, and soul. And I feel now that that's where I am. And I do feel rejuvenated and re-energized about my path. It just as that woman told me that I would. And I'm not going to advise people to go out and start experimenting with bufo. You need to be called to this medicine. It is no joke. It is an incredibly potent experience. But it was part of my path, my journey of coming to peace with dying, which I felt that I needed to do. But in this making peace with dying, I have found on the back end of it a deep expansion into the isness and the possibilities beyond this, and stop listening to these old stories, these paradigms. And it's rejuvenated. I feel like I feel like I said, I feel powerful. I feel like excited by what's to come. however that looks. But also not allowing the doctors, people feeding back the reinforcing of those paradigms to impact me moving forward.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. Let's dig into spirituality.
Yeah.
So you and I love being men. We love to help men. We want the best for men in this world. We have some great men around us who want the same for men. We're on our own journeys. We're not perfect. We're trying to reclaim what we repressed. We're trying to not be so attached to the body and really operate from a greater expansive spiritual place, if you want. There's two areas of life that, for me, men don't talk about. And it's the two areas where there's the most fear and shame. And one is sex, and the other is spirituality. So let's talk a bit about spirituality. How is your relationship to spirituality / the source of creation / the quantum field / oneness / supreme consciousness, whatever we want to call it? How is your relationship to it now compared to, for example, when you played rugby?
I mean, the laugh says it all, right? The laugh says a lot. Yeah, I mean, I would have, if you had asked me then, I would have told you, because I had no clue, that I would probably have said I was an atheist, yet I wasn't an atheist at all. I had no idea what that, I thought I knew what that word meant, but I wasn't that. I was more agnostic than anything. Probably believe that there was something, but show me it before I believe it. I need to see it, because I don't believe much in all these. I'm telling you, my mindset at pre-sobriety was like, I don't believe any of these texts, books, or religious texts. None of them. I feel it's indoctrination or a programming or something. But prove me otherwise, and I'll change my mindset. But obviously, through the experiences that I've had, and the coming back to self, and the expansion within that, and the going inward, was like, whoa, as above, so below, as within, so without. I started to feel this and the power of prayer. Not to anyone initially. At first, I had a huge resistance to anything that was God related. And thank God I had an amazing sponsor when I came out of rehab in AA. And he just said, don't worry about the God word. Just use G-O-D as good, orderly direction. And I was like, boom. Yeah, I can work with that. And then that for me was God, was a good, orderly direction. But that good, orderly direction for me needed structure, needed a foundation. And that foundation came through values. It came through a deeper understanding of self, of who am I? And that journey in itself was deeply profound, because it made me question everything. Yeah. Like, what is this? Like, who am I? Like, how can I not know who I am? Yeah. No, how much have I been told is true? How much is not true? Like, let me go back and actually, instead of being told what is me and not me, and the stuff from our history and past, I'm going to delve into that myself. I'm not going to make any judgments or calls, but I'm going to keep doing these things that are working for me, which is praying, journaling, meditating, doing the odd breathwork practice, and slowly, bit by bit, was building, unbeknown to me, this beautiful relationship with my truth, with spirit, we'll call it a spirit. I didn't know what spirit. In the desperation of my state, early recovery, I was praying to everything: Buddha, Allah, God, Jesus, Ganesha, anyone, whoever's listening. Like, please, like, hook me up. You know, I need help like yesterday.
Yeah.
So in that desperation was also in my ways, it's my nature. I'm curious. And how long has humans been on this planet? And then I'd look at that and Google it and be like, that doesn't make sense. It's only a few thousand years old. What? We're only a few thousand years old. How did we evolve? You know, what we came from supposedly monkeys. Oh, really? How did we build pyramids? Like, how long ago was that? And then, like, what was the Egyptians' beliefs? What were their gods? Oh, okay, it was the sun, and it was this and that. Right, okay, I can understand that. So then, for a while, I was like praising or praying to Ra, the sun god, and then I got curious. What was before that? And then it was like Mesopotamia and all of the original texts from those times, and the Anunnaki and all this kind of thing. So I became more curious and more intrigued. And then in time, it became about the more I began to feel and allow love to enter into my heart through many layers of shame and guilt and heaviness that I had suppressed and repressed over years. So I was like numb. I was numb at the level of the body. You know, so when I started to feel again, then it was this like, oh, it was tough, you know. But then with the help of spirit and, you know, feeling supported by it in those initial days was huge for me. It was huge. You know, obviously I was doing the work in many other ways, you know, at the level of the psychological aspects and the physiological aspects with breathwork and somatically. But it was the spirit that dragged me through the dark hours, you know, like when I was thinking about going off the rails. I think, and then more recently, Craig, was the expansion of the knowingness of the grandness of scale of who we are, of what this experience is of consciousness, of what I had felt and seen through my experience, through noticing the body and the ego, and also through, at times, the calling to do certain psychedelics, which also was like very mind-opening and expansive at the level of consciousness. So it's been an evolution, and it's been a deepening and an understanding, and looking at many different types of religions. And like, I like a bit of that. I like to, that sounds okay. And, you know, not that I practice any one thing. It's just more of I know that the spirit, we are the spirit, you know, the spirit is everywhere. And for that brings a lot of safety and trust into my body.
Yeah. For me, in this field, I guess, of men's work, and it's becoming a big, I guess, topic, industry even, there's got to be a component for spirituality. There has to be. Because I feel and I believe more than ever before that the root of any malfunctioning behaviour in the world by men, even though it's not exclusive to men, is related to suffering. And the suffering is related to the deep, ingrained, conditioned belief that we are only this physical body with this personality that's really hard to change. And it's obvious to me now that is the root of suffering. And I'm not saying that I am enlightened. I don't even know what that fucking word means. But my attention, and this is only coming through me now after speaking with you, my attention has experienced multiple times a different sense of reality. My attention can experience my body, my thoughts, my heart beating, my breath, the energy coming off my body, the way my body sometimes vibrates, the space around me, and a universal field. And because my attention has been exposed to all these different aspects of reality, and like you in 10-day retreats, I've stopped breathing. I've become oneness. My heart's jumped out my chest and it's been there in front of me. And because of these, peak experiences, it's not about chasing those experiences, which we tend to do for a while, But what I'm getting to is, it's such a fucking relief for me now to realise that I'm not only this flesh and blood and bones and these narratives that run in my mind. It's like there's something else that's watching my back, and there's something, and it's a fucking relief, and it pulls me out of victimhood. It pulls me out of swimming in my beliefs and swimming in my narratives downloaded from life, from mum and dad and generations. It pulls me out. So for me, we have to explore how men can have these experiences of a greater level of awareness, so they don't fucking take things so personal. And they don't have to wear a mask because they don't take things so personal. When we take things so goddamn personal, we will wear a mask to cover up our suffering because we think we need to be a certain way and not this way, and it just becomes a shit fight, Rhys, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%, mate. That's where I think more recently in the last 6 years, over the last 2 years, I would say, has been the power of integration, of taking those peak experiences, and then how do I then take the lessons out of them and learn and then put that into my life, and how do I action that? Because, like a breathwork experience is a peak experience, but even in that more recently, the beautiful schools that I've had the honor of mentoring more recently was with the same schools I learnt with and did my own teaching, was that it's actually, for me, as I was, it was easy to push through to get that cathartic release and then very often not integrate that experience, because it was just like that. What I was seeking was actually checking out. It was almost, why, help me out here. What's the word for disassociative?
Yeah.
It was disassociative, right? Yeah. But more and more I realized that it's about feeling. It's not about checking out. It's actually about checking in and becoming more aware and more a deeper sense of interoception with what is happening within you, the somatic experience of the emotions, the feelings, the sensations, and then being able to hold it and then allow that to be expressed, whether that be through anger or tears or the realization that I should have maybe go and make that apology or write that letter, or I can, I'm going to action this, that, and this in my life, instead of not integrating. So like more recently, it's been about the integration of the peak experiences that I've had. That's the growth, and that's how I feel like it's almost like a bit more mature version of me now than I was even a couple of years back,
Yeah. For me, the greatest, I mean, I never knew this when I was younger, but now more than ever before. For me, the greatest integration, which is not different to what you're saying, it's just a different way of looking at it, is actually in intimate relationship. That is the greatest integration and the greatest opportunity to really have that grounded, earthly capacity to feel exactly what's going on in this body and be with ourselves within that intimate space, and then we can truly access the fullness of who we are. We can truly access joy, and we can truly access peace, and we can be with our sadness. But for me, I had to explore various technologies first to have that experience of expanded awareness. And sometimes I look back at my life and I think, Craig, you were just lost for many years. But where I am now in my relationship with life, myself, my partner, and other beings in life, now it's time for me to be in that arena and not go chasing. But for a while, and I do think it's important for men to understand, there are a lot of technologies out there right now in existence that if you dive into them, they can move you out of this belief that you're only a person, and they can give you a great expansive awareness of who you might actually be. And then we bring it back and we integrate into life, and we explore, and we have a deeper love for ourselves and deeper connection, and we go back into that arena of relationships, because that's where men are fucking things up, in the arena of relationships. They fuck relationships up. They can't, because they can't relate to themselves.
Exactly.
But I think men need to be aware that there are technologies out there, you know, the technology of meditation, the technology of real yoga, the technology of sound therapy, the technology of breathwork, the technology of plant medicine, the technology of psychotherapy, the technology of working with a real coach, the technology of nature, the technology of astrology, the technology of manifestation meditation. There's so many technologies that can really expand our awareness, so we're not attached to this idea of I'm a person in this body and these are my beliefs and this is how it is. So I think that's really, really, really important for men to realise that. Yeah,
I think it's been an area of huge amount of attention and growth for me, Craig, obviously in the last 6 years in particular, because the way obviously that I had, you know, conducted my existence and the environment and around the rugby community and the more about the culture in which men currently find themselves with social media and this kind of really like, oh, my fucking words are gone. What promiscuous, this really promiscuous existences, like almost grandiose approach to life of sleeping with as many partners and like putting a notch on the bed, you know, and having, you know, I think social media and these types of social media apps have created this really toxic kind of environment, and that's not to even touch on porn, right? Craig, and I mean, you know, I mean, how many men do you know that have got porn addiction issues? It's a huge problem, and the big problem is the metrics for porn. Sadly, a lot of our young people are watching a tremendous amount of porn, and it's having
and middle-aged men.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's having a hugely detrimental impact on the relating capacity for men to understand themselves, their bodies, the amount of shame that they watch when watching that, the way very often the feminine is treated within these videos, which is what put me off porn. I've been like, we call it sober off porn for over 4.5 years now.
Yeah. And what a relief, yeah.
Oh, mate, honestly, when I got off it, you don't realize how much it was impacting your life in a really, like almost demonic way. I genuinely, I do believe that in some way there is something demonic, deeply demonic about the porn industry. And if something is free, Craig, you are the product. I genuinely believe that. So I think and I had a lot of work to do around this area of my life, especially when I went to your first retreat and we did that. Sexual shame exercise, you know, it was staggering how much shame I held about myself, about my body, about my experiences. It was such a blind spot of mine as well, you know. But then, you know, obviously that commitment to myself to be a better man, a better husband, a better partner, a better father, everything. Really, it came through that capacity to relate, because it's so freaking triggering being in a conscious relationship, because you're constantly having a mirror shine back on you and being called out for your BS. So then it's like not getting reactive by the truth that's been reflected back on you.
That's the work right there, isn't it?
100%.
Being able to be with ourselves and our body and what our body is communicating to us in that fire of an intimate relationship. That is the work right there. That is what will, if it ever happened, if men exponentially learn to do that, learn to be with themselves and their felt experience so much that they could hold whatever came up in a relationship in a loving way, then women will walk around the streets feeling safe. But until that happens, nothing's going to change. Now, it's easy for us from the outside looking in to give a solution in a complicated world, isn't it?
Yeah.
But imagine if you're a boy and you go to school, and from the age of 4 or 5 up until the age of 10, you did modules on the wisdom of emotion, the wisdom of your body, the beauty of male and female relationships, consent, boundaries, healthy yes, healthy no, conscious sexuality, the anatomy of a relationship, how to listen and reflect back to someone, how to communicate without words. Can you imagine? Like, it's easy looking in to say this right now, but the world would be different, because that's when the seeds are planted in those early years. Based on what we witness, we just download.
I mean, I pray that in time, Craig, that is what happens, because as you can see in this moment now, and the big revealing of our elites and our governments, and the depravity and the deep sickness that resides within these areas, is just the shadow element of the sexuality, right? And I think, like you said, our children and our women in our lives, they deserve this. It should be paramount for us as men but without this experience at that age, and the teachings from others that are sincere and grounded and rooted in this integrity, like, how is it possibly going to? It's too grand a job, Craig.
Well,
yes, we try our best.
Without that early education, a young boy's fucked, because, you know, I mean, if he's got a great mum and dad, they might not give him a mobile phone until he's 16, but most mum and dads are stressed out, and they'll give a child a mobile phone just to relieve the stress. So if I'm a young boy and I've not been educated, and I'm 7, 8 years of age, and I've got a mobile phone, and I'm on Instagram, and I see hundreds of posts of young girls with knickers on, just kind of winking at me and showing me a bit of the body, I just get addicted. I just get addicted to that hit, and it breeds disrespect for women. It breeds objectification. It breeds an incapacity to see a woman as an equal. And what chance has that young lad got? And testosterone kicks in, and it intensifies, and then the algorithm gets hold of it, and all of a sudden you put your phone on, and all you see is beautiful young girls with fit bodies. It's tough, isn't it?
It's a hell of a tough time, and I think the more that it's carrying on, you're actually seeing less and less sexually active men, which is a really frightening statistic and indicator of how it's moving. And I mean, you see in Japan, I recently read a study there about a huge surge in sex dolls, and the reduction in relationships in that country in particular. And I mean, those days aren't far away in the West. And I mean, we're already there in so many ways, right? With the amount of masturbating that young men are doing today, just watching porn. Like, we're talking at least, once a day, some people multiple times a day. And I mean, just not going to be sexually active.
Even in those teenage years, I mean, imagine a whole year with a module on making love.
Yeah.
Guys, you are coming to the age where you're going to be thinking about making love and having sex with the opposite person. Let us take responsibility and teach you what it means to make love.
Yeah.
which is
even
the
learning
opposite,
about the anatomy,
which
bro.
is the exactly, learn about the anatomy, learn about sensations, the opposite of porn. Teach us to slow down, teach us to cultivate presence, teach us to penetrate on different levels. Softness, patience, respect, boundaries. Oh man, we could.
Just
I mean, in my
basic
life and
things
my
like
career,
eye
I
gazing,
can't.
right?
Yeah, I can't ignore it anymore. To be honest, Rhys. I mean, I'm a
No, it's
mental
bad,
leadership
bro.
coach, and I've got a reputation. But I've not spoke about it an awful lot. It's only as I evolve my own sexuality that I'm able to talk about it. But it has to be spoken. It has to be spoken about. We can't ignore this taboo subject. I mean, sex. We carry the seed. Sex is our life force, and it has to become an open conversation because it's just taboo.
100%.
And even it's just taboo.
And without men speaking about it, Craig, how are we supposed to? What role models are we? There's no role models out there that are talking about anything otherwise, right? Because we've got OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You know, the odds are stacked against us here, mate. You know, it's accessible and almost free for most people, and that's just online, right? And it's at a fingertip, and we want convenience. We want it now. But we're also looking for other ways. We're seeking because we know deep down there's something that's uneasy about what you may be observing or viewing.
Yeah.
There's something that's just not quite right. You can't put your finger on it, but it feels like a little dirty. And there's like a bit of a guilt almost, a bit of shame about your habits or the way that you are masturbating. Maybe it's behind your partner's back, or maybe you're even masturbating in work or in the van on the way to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's deeply, you know, this is where we are, and it needs to be spoke about more because people need to realize that this behavior is actually not normal, actually. And how do we expect to relate and be an attractive, appealing human on multi levels to the feminine if we are so deeply flawed at every level? You know, never mind our personal traits, but I mean, sexually, we just believe that what we watch on whatever porn or whatever. I don't even know what porn channels there are anymore. But if they think that's how love is, or making love is enacted, they're going to have a bit of learning to do. Do you know what I mean?
And women are going to pull away even more. On the flip side of though, Rhys, on the flip side, I'm fully aware of what's going on in the world, social media challenges. But if I comment on my own world, my own reality, some of the men I work with are just fucking amazing, and we're having conversations. I'm working with someone at the moment who's got a lot of stuff going on, and to see his transformation at the age of 65 is absolutely incredible. And I'm working with men that have got like 5 kids, 4 kids, 3 kids, and the way they are transforming and changing in this area and having the confidence to show something different with the kids is quite encouraging for me. So I can only, in my world, I can only focus on my own reality. Otherwise, I might get lost trying to be a martyr to save the world, and I can only do what I can do in my own sphere, and I am seeing a lot of progress. Also in my own life as well. Fucking hell, when I was 14, 15, I was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, we were just flying by the seat of our pants, Craig? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, let's finish on a high.
Yeah.
You're getting married. Rhys, so am I.
We haven't set the date yet, mate, but Kez is pregnant.
So am I.
No way.
Yeah, we are getting married in Peru. It's not a legal ceremony yet, but we're getting married in a ceremony in Peru on the 31st of March.
Oh, buddy.
So that's 2 of us.
That is so amazing. I'm stoked for you, buddy.
Tell us why you're getting married.
So we haven't set the date, but we intend to. Obviously, Kez is with child now, so we definitely will be in time we would like to put it in the new year, but there's a lot of uncertainty around those timelines and how that looks in many different ways. But why am I getting married? Because she makes me happy, mate. She makes me smile. She lights me up, not just at the level of her physical body, but the level of her soul. The person that I see her in her fullness. I see all of her beauty, and I have committed to being with her and only her for the entirety of the rest of my existence. Now, I don't know how that looks, but this is a promise that I've made to myself. If I was going to be in another relationship post my marriage, that I would be loyal, be honorable. If I didn't want to be with that person, or I was thinking of doing something otherwise to dishonor that relationship, why was I in the relationship?
Yeah.
So, especially once you have a child, it's a big decision. We discussed this at length. It took many years of deliberating and considering, and that was the final commitment, really.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that was also a lot of home truths coming back to roost post being in stillness with myself at Vipassana, and thinking like, whoa, I saw literally our relationship in a completely different way. And that made me reflect upon my conduct, my behavior, my inability in some areas to be more available, actually, in many different ways. And that, how could I bring more safety to her? How could I be, that pillar of which I am, but like, how could I create that more element of safety and trust and reliability? And not that she has any reason to not trust me, but sometimes it can be financially, Craig. We're talking about full scope here, not like we have zero issue to trust within the confines of our relationship, but I mean in the worldly matters that affect us in our relationship. So, those were the realizations, and we had just some bloody strong conversations coming back from Vipassana about like, how does this look? Why is she with me? Actually, if I trigger this, and this in her, why do you stay with me? And that seeing the relating from wound, and then kind of rewinding it to that point, and then saying, well, I need to work on this, and this, so that when she does shine a light on me, it's not overly triggering, and I know that it's me, and then I can take ownership of that, or in fact not have that part exposed, because I don't need to be a child anymore. I can communicate my feelings, emotions, and sensations.
Yeah,
and desires.
And if stuff comes up, you see it as a gift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's just a sense of knowing. I've never experienced a sense of knowing before. I've had clients and they've been together with someone for 30 years, and I say, well, what's your secret? And he said, well, there's just never no doubt. There's just a knowing that she was the person for me. And we've only been together for 7 months, but there's just a knowing, and it's not a conventional wedding. It's not a conventional wedding. It's not a transactional wedding. It's a spiritual partnership that we want to fully dive into and commit to. So there'll be a small ceremony in Peru, and then we'll set a date in the UK. I don't know, within the next year or so, I guess. But I probably shouldn't put, I probably won't put this podcast out immediately, because I've not even told my mum yet.
Yeah, I know. I will. Kids, I'm not getting married yet. I feel like it's not booked. Relax.
Yeah. So, Rhys, we're coming to the end of a delightful conversation. It always is with you, my friend. And I've got a final question for you. So imagine your life was a movie, and it's on right now at the cinema, and there's 1,000 people in the audience who love you, and they're rooting for you, and they're watching the movie right now, and this podcast is part of the movie. In relation to the next phase of your life, what do they want for you? What are they speaking to the screen? What are they telling you to do with your life?
You're so close. Don't give up. You're so close. And that's the compound effect, Craig.
Yeah, I get it.
It feels like I've been pumping at this well for years.
Yeah.
And I've grown tired. I'm exhausted. But I feel like it's one or two pumps away, and then boom, I'm going to hit this pristine, purified 1% of the world's existence of purity water. And it's going to fill every cell in my body and open a world that I've not even experienced yet, even though I've experienced the absolute grandness of this existence at every level, the physical, the mental, the emotional. I'd like to think at some way the bliss and ecstasy of nirvana of the spiritual through some of the practices in plant medicines and Bufo. So, but I feel that where I'm going is going to be something even more grand. I've just maybe starting to understand that. Now that may not be in this body, but it may too be in this body. And I'm okay with both.
Beautiful, bro. Thanks for your depth and your vulnerability, and thanks for inspiring the many people who listen to this. And I will be seeing you soon on our group call, right?
Yes. First Wednesday of every month.
Beautiful. So, mate, where can the viewers or the listeners find you if they want to check you out?
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is real Rhys Thomas, real REAL, Rhys RHYS, and Thomas. Otherwise, LinkedIn. I've been a little quiet on there lately, but I've been super busy. I've got a startup here in Cape Town, and otherwise, just through those two channels right now.
Cool, Rhys. It's been an honor, brother, and love you very much. And I'll see you soon.
Love you too, brother.
See you, bro.
See you soon, bro.